So plenty of options to choose from. Actually a very striking aircraft once you get it together. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and I'm going to look at the brand new Copper State Models Nieuport 23 in RFC service. So Copper State Models, I think I've explained before, is a company from Latvia that specialises in World War I kits, and particularly aircraft kits, and they've made this quite new tooling of the Nieuport 17. So this has basically the same tooling as their earlier releases, but it does have some extras for converting to the 23 version that the RFC used, and also has a new set of decals for the British markings, and they have a slightly different finish. So let's have a close look inside and we see what this is all about. Now it's quite a large scale, 1/32. So if you're familiar with wingnut wings, wingnut wings were World War I aircraft specialists in 1/32, and when you have a look at this compares it very favorably to those kits. Okay, so you end up with one of these very nice thick cardboard export type boxes. Keeps everything very well protected, very solid, and they just open up like such, go forward and across. All right, so the first thing you get to see is the very nice manuals. So Copper State Models make beautiful manuals for their kits. They're very thick, very high quality card, and they always have a very retro look about them. Okay, let's pop this aside to be looked at a bit later. Let's have a closer look at all the important parts. Okay, I might bring out a couple of bits here. So this particular part here is the unique parts for making this particular aircraft into the RFC version. So it has different machine guns. So they've got the Lewis guns. They had the Lewis guns which were mounted on top of the wing. So hence why there's a new center section for the wing. It has a different mount here for the overhead machine gun. And then I guess a few of the other bits are different as well. So brand new sprue right there. And that compares to this large section here. So you've got the wings. You've got two center sections here, which won't be used. So they're for different kits. You'll be using this one instead. So you can see the difference there. You see how the cutout is slightly different with different mounts. It's very clever how they've designed this so that you can get different versions out of similar molds. Okay, so from here you can see the you've got independent control surfaces. You've got super nicely molded surface detail. It might be hard to see with the reflection of the plastic, but you've got the dips between each of the ribs, and also the fabric tension detail. Maybe I'll notice it across here as well. So you have a very, very strong ribbing section here, and it smooths off as it gets towards the back. There's a couple of different engine cars to choose from as well. So there'll be a particular one to be used for this aircraft, and you'll have a few bits and pieces for spares. Let's slide that across. All right, so over here we've got the engine. So quite a few parts. You've got front and rear sections of the cylinders. Then you have the all these stacks here for the control rods, and then the heads are just over here. And you see little details for each of the spark plugs as well. So very nice indeed. You'll see the surface details of all the cooling fins is really nicely pronounced. Okay, so we've got a pretty decent sized sprue here. So here you've got some of the control surfaces. There's a separate control surfaces that go on the upper wing. You've got the wheels here. The other side of the wheels, so they're the hubs that go on the opposite side. Some other machine guns here, which I won't be using. And then you have different side panels. They have different openings. So a particular version will be used as well. This is very nice here. This is the seat, and you'll see how it's got the holes already molded into it. And then there's a lot of fine parts. So you've got, these are the sides of the fuselage where these panels go on. So you can see how you've got framework that's already being built in. So it's multi-dimensional in how the detail is built, just like the real aircraft. So from the wooden frames, and then you have the cladding on the outside. Okay, so from here we've got our last piece of sprue. So here you've got the horizontal stabilizers. You got your vertical here. This is the section which is on the top of the fuselage, just behind the cockpit, and then you've got the sides of the fuselage along here. Now with this particular part here as well, this actually covers the framework which we've got here. So you can see this wooden framework is very, very nice and fine. And then you've got all the other struts. You've got the support struts here for the wings, and there's additional machine guns for a different version, and then internal control surfaces and another set of struts here. So this is the landing struts there. This is the top of the cockpit, I guess. So that's the front of the cockpit, and you've got the engine and propeller up the front, and you can see just how fine all of that is. Even this this little edging there. Okay, so all the plastic looks really, really nice. It's really impressive. And then you have some photo etching. You've got some photo etch details here. A little buckle, some straps. Okay, so there's one sheet of that, and then a very decently large decal sheet. So it's very nice how all these have already been split across where they're going to be on control surfaces. And then of course there's all the different options. You've got stenciling, and then all the different numbers and registrations. And these are printed by Cartograf of Italy, so very nice, super duper quality. Just inside here there's a little bit of clear film, I think there for the windshields. So you got two there, I think one's a spare. That's a very nice touch as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the manual. Pop that over here. All right, so manual, very thick, very nice indeed. So they always have this dossier type look, very vintage style. Then in the beginning, they'll go through the history of the aircraft. So the Nieuport 17 was quite a technologically advanced aircraft of the day. One of the best fighters. Even compared to the German fighters of the day. The Nieuport 17 was very well designed, and it was always being upgraded. So this particular one, the 23, the major difference is this was coated with this new shiny aluminium dope. So idea is being really reflective. It was harder for spotters to see and work out its altitude. Now the main difference with this and the British ones was simply the machine gun. So you had to look out for that to see what version they're actually using. And then of course all the markings would make it quite obvious as well. So you've got a bit of history there, and then we start getting into the build. Okay, so here we've got the diagram with all the different sprues, so it's easy to find the parts. You've got a color diagram here, so little codes that are used throughout the manual to show you which colors to paint. Decal sheet, your clear sheet, and then your photo etch as well. So we start off by building the framework for around the cockpit. So you've got the firewall here. This is getting prepared here. You see one side of the frame with the firewall, and then other side as well. And then I'll get this page across. Okay. Then we start getting into Okay, just all these items behind the firewall. You got the tank. And then you see all this. This is optional rigging. So you can get fine rigging, which is easily obtainable. You use cotton thread, but specific modeling thread, which is stretchable stuff, is preferable. And that's all going in. You add all those extra details. Here's your rudder controls. Okay, with optional rigging. That's all going into the floor arrangement here, and that's getting mounted inside the frame. Over here I can't quite see what it is, but I think that's getting into control. There's a lever there as such. So these will be for the cockpit controls. You see the rigging again, and then the other side is fitted up, and it's already starting to look like the aircraft. So you've got the front part of the fuselage done. You've got the control joystick being put together here. Also optional rigging for the control rods. That's all built into the subassembly and then dropped into the center. You already see how complicated this particular subassembly looks. And then we start getting into the seat. So you've got the seat base, seat back, and then these are the photo etched straps that we saw before. So just the seat belts, you can have them left hanging, and the seat belt goes in, and then there's all this complicated rigging. So of course you don't have to do that, but if you do that, it just adds so much more interest because of the complexity. And you can see here how the seat belts are meant to be strapped and connected to the side of the fuselage. So over here we've got that's more of a connection to the joystick, I think, and this is just reiterating how all these straps work. Alright, so we go to the next step. Alright, so you see how half of this manual is already just on the front end. There's so many parts. So I think we're getting ready to put in the gauges. So there's a strut going across here. Some more photo etch here. This is still putting in the seat belts. Additional rigging towards the back. And then you get to this painting stage. So that is one finished subassembly for the cockpit. Looks really nice just by itself. So here we start getting into the rear end of the fuselage. So you've got those two larger halves. So again, with the control surfaces for the rigging coming out, and two halves have been joined. You've got your little skid plate there for landing, and then there's the upper frame structure before the cover goes on. So theoretically, you should be able to leave that cover off and take it off so you can see all this detail inside. Okay, so we start getting into the wings. So you've got the wings getting mounted up. So it's that single piece. So subassembly basically drops into the center of that wing. You've got the rear fuselage subassembly that's connected here. And then the rear control surfaces are going on. So you've got your horizontal stabilizer and the points where the control surfaces will be connected. You got this is support struts, your vertical stabilizer, and then there's more attention on the front end. So there's more rigging again. You got the sealed side panels going in, and then you've got let's see, you got the rigging across here, and then we've got some additional parts just around the cockpit. So here's the front panel that drops in. Do I see that acetate sheet here somewhere? I think the acetate sheet goes into here. So that's for the windshield. So a very tiny windshield. And then we move on. Okay, so over here we've got the upper wing struts being fitted. So you've got the upper wing. So this is a particular section of center wing that you have to pay attention to make this particular version. Your ailerons, those control surfaces going in, and then on the base you've got the rangefinder, center strut, and then carefully you need to fit the upper wing. So that's part of the biplanes, which are a bit tricky, getting all this to be fully aligned. And then you have your landing undercarriage struts getting put together. That's fit on as a sub-assembly, and then you have all your final rigging. So rigging was very important because it added so much strength to the aircraft. Engine is being put together, and then it just fits onto the front of the firewall, and then you need to select the appropriate engine cowling. So actually both engine cowlings are used, so depending on which particular version you choose, depends on which cowling you use. So they have the details at different points here for the world, and then the cowling goes on. Alright, so once we've got that, we're doing all the finer details now. So still the upper wing, you've got some handholds. The machine gun mount is going in here, just on the top section. And that's making room for, what do we got here? We've got the Lewis gun. So you've got two Lewis guns with the different angles of the mount. So this is with the loose mount, so it's just hanging. And this is with the mount that's been locked into place. So you can see both here. So this is hanging into the cockpit. Then this one, which is locked into place. So for dogfighting. And then the propeller is fixed up. And then you get into the final painting and markings. So there's quite a few different options you can get to do here. So I think this particular one was an Australian aircraft that was used by the British. So where does it say there? So Australian Imperial Force. Oh, so this particular pilot was from Australia and transferred over. And then you have this particular version here. So you have different pilots versions with different markings and with the different registrations. So the numbers are going to be different here. Okay, and then there's some more here. So a bit more colourful. You've got all these stripes on the cowling. And again, you've got there are two different pilots again. Okay, and I think, oh, that's a bit of a surprise. There's one more version. Something different. It's got a blue cowling on this one. So plenty of options to choose from. Very nice little kit. Actually a very striking aircraft once you get it together. So that's actually a very big kit. I mean, it'll have a fuselage like so big with a similar sort of wingspan. So that is the my review of the new Copper State models, Nieuport 23 in RFC flight version. So I hope you enjoyed that and how complicated this particular kit is. I really like it. I think I should build one, but we'll wait and see.